Hello everyone. Today we're going to be talking about unified wireless for SMBs. This is presented today in the context of our brand new DWC 1000 wireless controller. My name is JP McFarlane. I'm currently the product manager for the business solutions products for D-Link Canada. So what we're going to be talking about today is a unified wireless overview. We're going to be speaking in the context of wireless for SMBs and some of the features and functions that some of the SMBs or small businesses can currently utilize in order to achieve a more efficient wireless network. We're also going to be talking today about the D-Link DWC 1000 wireless controller and access points, and give you a little bit of background as to this brand new product that D-Link is now offering. So to get right into it, we want to talk about why are you looking for a centrally managed solution for a small medium business. If you take a look at a current wireless network or a wireless network that you may have at your home, it may consist of a router or a couple of access points. It's very easy to set up. All you need to do is essentially drop in an access point, configure it, and away you go. But when you start actually taking a look at more than one or two access points or a router and an additional access point, it becomes very difficult to manage. Every access point in this case is its own island, meaning that all the configuration has to be done individually on each access point. There's no communication between those access points. There's no unified security policy. So how do I ensure that all my users that are currently associated are allowed to be on that network? How do I ensure that every access point that's currently plugged into that network has the appropriate security policy for the business, whether that be a web password or it's tied into an authentication server? You also don't have a function called roaming. And why roaming is important, especially for a small business. For example, a business that may have a warehouse that has scanning guns, or in a medical office that may have iPads or other mobile devices, or even in a wireless VoIP scenario. When you move between access point to access point, you typically need to re-authenticate, meaning that when you drop from one access point and connect to another access point, there's a lapse in signal. Now, in a wireless VoIP situation or a wireless VoIP scenario, you can see that may actually cause the call to be dropped. In a situation in a warehouse with scanning guns, it may lose connection to a database. It may have to reconnect, so it may cause specific issues, especially if you're dealing with creating a network that has one single wireless access. It's also very difficult to troubleshoot. A traditional wireless network, by dropping in access points, is, again, it's very simple to do. But on the other hand, what happens if you do have an access point fail? You have to pull in a new access point. You have to reconfigure it again. What happens if there are people that are accessing the network that shouldn't be accessing the network, or you do have slow services, slow web surfing, slow database access? So how do you rectify that? How are you able to track down what the issues are? So with D-Link, specifically, the wireless controllers that we're introducing into the market are designed to address these issues, making it easier to set up, making communication between the access points available, unifying the security policy, and allowing for roaming and easier troubleshooting. If we take a look at what SMBs are currently looking at right now, you can see on this slide here that 61% of small medium businesses are looking to currently purchase a thin or dependent access point with a centralized controller solution. So small businesses are already being educated into the benefits of wireless controllers and thin access points, and why some of those features are important. So again, just to kind of reiterate, the unified wireless controller solutions offer greater flexibility, reduced maintenance costs over a standalone wireless solution, and offer features critical for small businesses. And these features include centrally managing your access points. Some of these other features also include auto channel selection for interference avoidance, allowing my access points to automatically determine the most efficient channel to be running on and broadcasting on that particular channel. It also allows for auto power adjustment. Again, offering that communication between the access points allows each access point to determine how much power each radio needs to be broadcasting simultaneously. A wireless controller solution also offers intercontroller roaming, meaning, or intra-controller roaming, also meaning that clients are allowed to move between access points without disconnecting and reconnecting to the network. And I'll talk about a little bit more of this in a moment. Wireless controllers also can provide coordinated intrusion detection and mitigation, so something that I haven't talked about yet, meaning that your wireless controller is intelligent enough, or should be intelligent enough, to allow users that are allowed to be accessing the network onto the network, and also make sure that if there's any clients or any access points that shouldn't be connected to the network, they are dealt with appropriately. And we also offer a captive portal for authentication, which I'll get into in a moment. So if we take a look at centralized management, what does that mean? It means one-time configuration and dispatch for all your managed access points. And this could mean firmware, a profile, i.e. your security or your radius server settings, radio configuration, what SSIDs are currently being broadcasted, and also quality of service authentication. And when you configure that on a wireless controller, it allows that to dispatch that to all access points currently connected, meaning that you do not necessarily need to move to every single access point and configure those individually. And in the context of a cluster group, what a cluster group is it allows a wireless controller typically to communicate with other wireless controllers in a group. And why this is important is it means that I am able to post connects. It allows another controller to actually take over channels to access points that don't already have channels set up, meaning when I connect a thin access point to the controller and they power on, they'll automatically figure out what channels that are currently being utilized on the network and automatically assign a non-overlapping channel to any of the peers that are currently on the network. In addition to that, in the context of a cluster group, if another set of access points that are also in the same area also get added onto the network, the two controllers will automatically coordinate between them what channel should be assigned to every access point. Now, the next obvious question would also be, well, what happens if I can't control the access point? If a standalone access point gets plugged into the network, well, you'll have a channel conflict in this case. And what will happen is periodically, the wireless controller will determine the best channel that it should be operating on, every access point should be operating on, and will automatically change itself to ensure that there is the lowest amount of interference. Now, auto power adjustment, and what that means is it gives you some extra time to be able to replace that access point or swap out an access point. In the context of seamless roaming, and again, I kind of talked about this a little bit, but seamless roaming allows a client to move seamlessly between access points on the same subnet. It also allows clients to move seamlessly between access points on multiple subnets, so across layer 3 networks. And in addition to that, it allows the clients to automatically seamlessly roam across layer 3 subnets and across controllers as well. So this is a perfect solution for wireless VoIP, and it's a perfect solution for any business that cannot afford to allow the clients to disconnect and reconnect to other access points. So again, in a wireless VoIP scenario, in a warehousing type scenario where scanning guns may need to stay connected to a database in order to ensure that the product is properly getting scanned, or in a healthcare situation where, again, that iPad or that mobile device needs to stay connected to a database to pull, say, patient records in this case. And this is, for the most part, done automatically. The layer 3 roaming does require a little bit of setup within the devices themselves, but as long as the access points are you've created a heterogeneous wireless network, it allows any client to roam between multiple radios. We also offer access point load balancing, or AP load balancing. So what that allows the wireless controller to do as well is it allows that controller to automatically balance traffic load based on utilization rates. So if we've got a lot of users accessing the same access point within a meeting room, if a new user, once it reaches a threshold, if a new user tries to join that wireless network, the wireless controller should automatically be able to determine what access points are currently being utilized at what level and be able to tell that user to authenticate to another access point that may have a lower utilization threshold. What we also want to do is we want to be able to provide something called Captive Portal. And why Captive Portal is important is it allows an additional layer of security on top of your wireless network. So you've already created your profile that supports, your WEP or your WPA security codes. But maybe what we want to do is we want to authenticate. We also want to authenticate a user based on maybe their Windows username or password. Either locally on the controller or against a Radius server in this case. So what that means is when a user tries to connect to the access point with the WPA or WEP password, it'll check the password and it'll allow it to access. But in addition to that, it adds a captive portal. And what that means is when a user opens up their web browser, regardless of whether or not they have their password, it'll add a second layer of security. And this is a great feature to create things like wireless guest access for the network when you may want to authenticate, maybe not necessarily via a security password, but you want to make sure that that person is allowed on the network. And so what that means is that regardless of whether or not they're authenticated to the access point or if somebody's given out that wireless password, once they open up their web browser, it'll automatically prompt them for a username or password. So it adds a second layer of security onto the network for either guest users or local users on the network. Once it's authenticated, then the user is allowed to get internet access. With respect to intrusion, what that means is that, in any wireless network, one of the biggest fears is that you could have users that are accessing that network that are not supposed to be accessing that network. Or what happens if a user, through maybe no fault of their own, thinks what they're going to do is they're going to just plug in an access point or a router they brought from home into the network to give themselves a little personal wireless network, but they don't necessarily have all that security set up. So what the intrusion detection does, it'll periodically scan, detect the APs that are on the network, and it's able to classify the access points that are detected, either whether it be a managed access point that's on the network, whether or not it's a standalone access point, so somebody may have brought in an access point, unknown, so an unknown access point may be an access point that that belongs to a neighboring wireless network, so it can't necessarily classify it, and rogue, an access point that shouldn't be connected to the network. And this is based on configuration that you should be able to set. It's also able to, in this case here, RF scan and determine, again, unauthorized access points, fake access points, users that shouldn't necessarily be associated with the network, maybe users that aren't in an allowed client list, or users that may be flooding the network, so with traffic, meaning maybe they're trying to hack into the wireless network. So that deals with the detection. What we're able to do is we're able to detect the access points that are currently not allowed on that wireless network. We're also able to detect users and clients that are not allowed on the wireless network. But what do we do with them at that point? So the wireless intrusion prevention, once it takes that list of access points or users that are not allowed on the network, it can protect from threats by sending deauthentication messages to the access point to disconnect them from the network. It also allows the end user to see specifically where that access point may be located on a sitemap, and this sitemap in this case is built right into the controller itself. So it'll automatically, based on its location, you're able to pin an access point and be able to locate that access point where that user may have plugged that in, or be able to determine where that user is. So let's take this a little bit further and talk about what that means with respect to D-Link, and so the D-Link, the product that D-Link has introduced. D-Link just recently launched the DWC1000. It's a full-featured wireless LAN controller designed for small network environments, so the exact environment that we are just talking about here. The controller possesses a range of network access point management security functions like WEP, WPA. In addition to that, it also provides server authentication and captive portal. Out of the box, the DWC1000 controls 6 access points and can also be upgraded to 24 access point support once upgraded with license packs. So some of the features that the DWC1000 offers, it offers that centralized management for all your access points, making sure that I've got a consistent security profile and consistent wireless profile sent right across the network. It allows for layer 2 and layer 3 roaming, and that doesn't matter whether or not you're roaming on a single controller or multiple controllers. It also offers that controller clustering, so it allows you to connect up to 4 controllers together in a cluster group and be able to manage up to 96 access points. It provides the automatic RF or radio frequency management, which provides the auto channel selection, being able to determine the most appropriate channels to be running on in a wireless network. And it also offers the auto power adjustment, which allows the access point to automatically adjust itself based on network conditions, i.e. an access point fails, it allows the access point, the surrounding access points to automatically boost their power to compensate. It also offers the AP load balancing, being able to move a user from one access point to another access point based on utilization to ensure that no one access point is being overutilized, thus slowing down network access. It also provides the captive portal function, being able to authenticate via a web page. And in addition to that, it offers the wireless intrusion detection and wireless intrusion prevention to ensure that only the clients and access points that should be on the wireless network are actually on that wireless network. With respect to the hardware itself, the DWC1000 offers 2 optional WAN ports. So I haven't talked about this too much, but the DWC1000 can also be used as your router. It offers 4 LAN ports, 10, 100, 1000 LAN ports, 4 gigabit LAN ports. 2 USB ports to allow you to plug in and share a device like a printer across the network. And a management console as well, an RJ45 management console. In terms of performance, the DWC1000 supports 6 access points out of the box to a maximum of 24 access points. It also supports up to 4 controllers in a peer group, allowing you to manage up to 96 access points total. In terms of network performance, it is fully compliant with IPv6, so you can be satisfied in knowing that the DWC1000 not only supports the current IPv4, but when networks start migrating over to IPv6, the DWC1000 is supported. That does support IPv6, and it also offers that intercontroller roaming. With respect to the warranty, the DWC1000 and its associated access points as well also offer a limited lifetime warranty. Taking a look at the hardware, as I just discussed, the DWC1000 is a fairly small unit. It does come with rack mount ears in order to mount it in a rack. And it allows for up to 4 connections into the network, 2 gigabit option ports, which can be used as a WAN port, and your console port as well. With respect to the accessories, so the DWC1000 supports currently today 3 access points. It supports the DWL8600AP, the DWL6600AP, and the DWL3600AP. And the differences between these access points are, somewhat small, but they could be used in different scenarios. So the DWL8600AP is a 802.11n concurrent dual band access point, meaning it will broadcast simultaneously in 2.4 and 5 gigahertz N. It is a metal chassis plenum rated design, meaning that the metal chassis would be appropriate for a more rugged environment like a warehouse or a dusty or dirty environment. But also being plenum rated means that it's able to be mounted above the ceiling within plenum rated. It is compliant to fire code. The DWL 6600 AP is also a concurrent dual band access point with internal antennas. So it supports 2.4 and 5 gigahertz N simultaneously. It is also a plenum rated design, so it could be mounted on the ceiling or above the ceiling in plenum rated areas. But it does offer a unobtrusive smoke detector style design, a little bit more appropriate for office spaces. Then we also have the DWL 3600 AP. This is a lower cost 802.11n, 2.4 gigahertz only, so it's a single band access point, which is also plenum rated to allow for the maximum installation options above or below plenum rated areas. Now, all three of those access points do support power over Ethernet, so you don't necessarily have to worry about getting power over to those access points. All they need to be, they just need to be powered with a power over Ethernet switch, like any of D-Link's WebSmart, the DGS 1210-10P, the DGS 3120 series, or the DGS 3420 series. With respect to the licenses, the DWC 1000 supports 2 license packs. It offers a 6 access point license pack, the DWC 1000-AP6 license. It adds an additional 6 access points. We also offer a router license and VPN license for the DWC 1000. So that would be the DWC 1000-VPN -LIC. And what that does is that unlocks VPN capabilities, the WAN capabilities, so connecting to an ISP, and it also offers, unlocks some firewall capabilities as well, which I'll get into in a moment. So again, the DWC 1000 VPN license unlocks IPsec, PPTP, L2TP, and SSL VPN capabilities, so you can create a VPN connection, a site-to-site VPN connection, or allow for multiple users to remote in via VPN to your network. It supports a max IPsec tunnels of 70 IPsec tunnels and a maximum of 20 SSL VPN tunnels. With respect to firewall capabilities, once you download and install, or once you purchase and install the VPN license, it unlocks NAT capabilities, network address translation, the VPN pass-through capabilities, and URL filtering capabilities, meaning you can block URLs to block things like Facebook, eBay, or webmail clients. With respect to some of the routing capabilities, once you unlock the license, it also unlocks dynamic routing. So this would be RIP version 1, version 2 routing. It also unlocks outbound load balancing and route failover, which I'll get into in a moment. But essentially what this allows you to do is connect the DWC 1000 to 2 separate discrete ISPs, and allows it to not only load balance between those access points, but it allows the DWC 1000 to fail over between multiple ISPs. And as I said, the DWC 1000 AP6 license allows you to enlarge the capacity of the DWC 1000 access points to a maximum of 24. So what this means, if I purchase the DWC 1000, I can manage up to 6 access points. If I add on the DWC 1000 AP6 license, that will allow me to manage a maximum of 12 access points. Then if I add on 2 DWC 1000 AP6 licenses, it allows me to manage a maximum of 18 access points. So the 12 that I've just purchased, including the 6 that come default on the unit itself. And then if I add a maximum of 3 AP6 licenses, it allows me to manage a maximum of 24 access points, including the default 6 access points that are supported on the unit. Now, if I also then add on the DWC 1000 VPN license, this would allow the DWC 1000 to also behave as the core router for the network, unlocking VPN capabilities, routing capabilities, and firewall capabilities as well. So if we take a look how the DWC 1000 could be integrated into a network, it can be integrated as a simple wireless controller. The end user may have an existing firewall/router solution or switching solution as well. so they don't need the DWC1000 VPN license or router license. But in this case here, we've got the DWC1000 managing my entire wireless network, and it's broadcasting multiple SSIDs depending on where each of those access points are located. So in this case here, the DWC1000 is only concerned about the wireless network. With the DWC1000 VPN license, I can also implement the DWC1000 as my core router for the network. It allows me to establish maybe a site-to-site VPN tunnel. And in this case here, the DWC1000 is also managing access points that are across that VPN tunnel. So for sake of argument, I have my DWC1000 in its main office managing a couple of access points in the main office. I can also deploy with the VPN license a site-to-site VPN connection that allows me to manage the remote access points as if they are locally connected into the DWC1000. In addition to that, the VPN license also allows end users, sales staff, anybody that may be out on the road, VPN access either via IPsec or SSL connection into the network for secure access and secure server access. Again, with the DWC1000 VPN license, it offers the outbound load balancing and route failover. So in this case here, we've got some of the internal network moving over ISP1. When traffic exceeds a certain threshold, the DWC1000 will automatically load balance between multiple access points to ensure that one link isn't overutilized. However, in the case of a failure, the DWC1000 will automatically move traffic over the available link. So as you can see, from a network standpoint, this allows high availability for your internet connection to ensure that you're always connected to the network. And then from a wireless standpoint, it also allows high availability for your wireless network, either between multiple controllers or managing multiple access points. With respect to the interface, the DWC1000 is a little bit, a cross between a simple to use router and something a little bit more advanced. It does offer easy to set up wizards in order to configure your wireless network or internet connection. It also allows you to gather multiple statistics about what services that are currently running on the network, whether that be somebody using heavy FTP or lots of HTTP. It allows you to see all the other access points that are currently connected. So this is just a quick little snapshot of the DWC1000 interface. And as you can see, it's very easy to use. So I thank everybody for taking a moment to listen to the DWC1000 and the overview of some of the features that the SMBs may be looking for. If you have any questions, please contact your local D-Link sales representative. Thank you.